Hello and welcome to Dane Explains. I'm Dane. If you're watching this video, you're probably aware of the idea that Saturn's moon Titan may be able to have some form of bizarre life based on methane rather than water as Earth life is. This is because Titan has methane lakes. At least one study has shown a possible mechanism for methane life to develop. However, even though Titan has been around maybe as long as the Earth and probably has conditions even more favorable to theoretical methane life in the past, there is no way that life could be as complex as our own. Let me explain why. Titan was first suspected to have an atmosphere way back in 1903, based on the observations of Spanish astronomer Josep Comas, which was subsequently confirmed by Gerard Cooper, the astronomer famous for the Kuiper Belt, in 1944. However, their techniques determined its atmospheric pressure was probably 1/10 that of Earth's. It wasn't until the arrival of the Voyager 1 spacecraft in 1980 that they were able to measure the atmosphere and found it to be around 50% thicker than Earth's atmosphere. It was then people began to speculate that Titan may be able to have liquid hydrocarbons on its surface, because it seemed like its atmosphere was just dense enough and the temperature was just low enough for hydrocarbons like methane and ethane to rain down on the surface. Ever since then, people have speculated that it may be possible for some type of cold methane life to be on Titan, spurred on by the fact that the surface of Titan could not be seen from space using visible light due to the thick haze. The possibility of methane life was taken more seriously after the presence of liquid methane was finally confirmed by the Cassini spacecraft in 2007. On a side note here, it's probable that Titan has a liquid water and ammonia ocean underneath, similar to Jupiter's moon, Europa. I'm not taking that into consideration when talking about life. That's a story for another video. Until computers got fast enough, pretty much the only thing people could do when it came to the possibility of methane-based life was to speculate. However, in the last 15 years or so, computers have reached the point where they can actually make predictions on how molecular structures form in various solvents. So people started to simulate probably the most fundamental structure for life, a bilayer. The bilayer is the basic structure of a cell, but let's keep the outside, outside, and the insides, inside. Kind of like the cell version of skin. In Earth's water-based life, it consists mostly of a substance called phospholipids. Basically, phospholipids are molecules that consist of long chains of hydrocarbons, which are oil-like, or as molecular biologists like to call it, the hydrophobic part of the molecule that doesn't like to mix with water. On the other end, they have a hydrophilic, polar, water-loving head. So basically, you have a molecule that likes to mix with water on one end and doesn't like to mix with water on the other. So what they tend to do in water is bunch together in little balls called micelles, with all the hydrophobic tails facing each other, away from the water. If you get enough of these molecules in one spot, they will form bilayer sheets. These sheets can then fold into larger balls known as liposomes. Liposomes are a bilayer wrapped around a bubble of water. So, they're very similar to cells, except they occur spontaneously and contain no cellular machinery for life. However, some theories postulate life began with liposomes, just happening to wrap around complex molecules. That's obviously a huge oversimplification, of course. But if the theory is right, the key to methane life being able to exist could be finding a molecule that could create liposome-like structures with methane in the conditions found on Titan. Now, methane is a hydrocarbon, so unlike water, it would like the hydrophobic tails of phospholipids. So any bilayer-like membrane would have the polar heads on the inside of the bilayer. Of course, phospholipids don't work because they would freeze on Titan. However, a 2015 paper revealed scientists were able to simulate a bilayer-like structure and the conditions found on Titan using a chemical acrylonitrile, although in this case it was more of an alternating monolayer. They would form sheets that could wrap into liposome-like structures the authors of the paper called azotosomes. Not only would azotosomes act like liposomes, they also have a similar strength as well in the conditions found on Titan. What's more, in 2017, it was confirmed Titan has substantial amounts of acrylonitrile. A theoretical biochemistry has been deduced by astrobiologist Chris McKay that could explain the source of Titan's methane. Now, the fly in the ointment here is the study from 2020 that showed although azotosomes could exist on Titan, they probably don't, because acrylonitrile would probably form a crystal structure instead. There goes 2020 again, wrecking it for everybody. While there may be more to the story here, since Titan's lakes are a complex mixture of hydrocarbons and not pure methane, so there could be another stabilizing molecule that assists in the formation of azotosomes. That's just conjecture though. Okay, now, supposing for a minute life was able to form on Titan at a similar time when it formed on Earth, then why in the heck would it be next to impossible for it to be as complex as life on Earth? And in particular here, I'm claiming it's single-celled only, like Earth was around 1 billion years ago. No animals, plants, or even fungi. Although slime mold life isn't out of the question, basically nothing more complex than the yellow crud that a dentist scrapes off of your teeth. The main reason is temperature. For the vast majority of Earth's existence, life has been single-cellular, with only around 10 to 15% of the time occurring after the emergence of multicellular life. High temperatures mean chemical reactions can happen faster. In fact, a lot of reactions aren't even possible at Titan's cold temperatures. However, there are the chemical reactions, and bond types that aren't possible at high temperatures of Earth. That means speed up the chemistry somewhat, but still, there's just so little energy available. Thermally speaking, Titan's life would only have about a third the energy available that it does on Earth, and something like 1,000 times less light available due to Titan's distance from the Sun and its hazy atmosphere. So complex life there is almost certainly out of the question. However, if we waited long enough, could complex life form? Well, that's probably unlikely too. The Sun is about halfway through its lifespan, and even if you judge the speed of life developing by the rosy 1/3 rate of Earth, the 10 billion year lifespan of the Sun just isn't long enough. There are probably other Titan-like worlds out there around other stars, however. Red dwarf stars now have lifespans hundreds of times longer than our Sun. In fact, no red dwarfs have yet to burn out from the beginning of the universe until now. Yet we find stellar remnants from Sun-like stars all the time. So red dwarfs may be an ideal place for these types of worlds to develop. Even more so, since one thing water-based life would struggle with around a red dwarf star is that the habitable zone is so close to the star is that any plants would become tidally locked, something I covered in another video, link in the description. Also, they tend to be flare stars, releasing intense, potentially life-destroying radiation. Methane worlds would be farther away, mitigating both of these issues. And with the longer life of the star, would give the world much more time to develop complex life. Because of the lifespan of red dwarf stars, methane worlds may be hospitable for life much longer than water-based worlds like Earth, which has maybe 1 billion years left in it if we're lucky. Of course, that's assuming the universe doesn't get toasted by something like a phase transition before then. An interesting side note here is if a methane world formed around a red dwarf star not too long after the Big Bang, then it would be possible that it could be a home to complex life for twice as long as it has been here. That's an educated guess, of course, but theoretically, such a world would be right about where the Earth is now when it comes to the advancement of life. That's an interesting thought. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please press the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ding the bell to get notified when I post new videos. Also, please support me on Patreon, link in the description. The more people who support me, the more time I can dedicate to making videos like this one. So, until next time, have a great week.